Supporters in Kenosha, Wisconsin are calling on authorities to free Crystal Kaiser, an accused killer. They say Kaiser is a victim of human trafficking. They want the district attorney to drop murder charges against her. Kaiser says she was defending herself when she shot and killed 34-year-old Randall Volar and set his house on fire in June of 2018. Kaiser was just 17 years old at the time. Randy Volar was charged with child sex abuse and was out on bail at the time of his death. Kaiser's mother says the prosecutor knew about Volar's alleged activities, but did nothing to stop him.
He had evidence. The fact that it took for her to do something because she got tired of it. And he trying to like sweep the whole problem under the rug, but it's so much more bigger than just her.
But District Attorney Michael Gravely says Kaiser killed Volar because she wanted to steal his car and then bragged about the killing on social media.
Where she is essentially bragging on a Facebook Live sort of telecast. She has a gun in her hand, she's waving that gun in her hand, and she is discussing how if somebody makes her mad, she'll shoot them like she shot someone previously, and there are people there trying to quiet her down.
Kaiser's case has gained national attention, with celebrities like Alyssa Milano and Patricia Arquette calling for her release. Kaiser's case is reminiscent of the Cyntoia Brown case in Tennessee, which also garnered a lot of attention. Brown was a victim of child sex trafficking. She was tried, convicted, and sentenced to life in prison for murdering a man in 2004. He allegedly bought her for sex when she was 16 years old.
I've been able to help people, which is amazing. Young people, young kids, they listen. And I know it's purely an act of mercy that you've even given me a hearing.
Brown was granted clemency by then Tennessee Governor Bill Haslam after serving 15 years. She was released in August of 2019. Kaiser is now 19. Despite a growing grassroots campaign seeking her release, she remains locked up. Kaiser faces life in prison if she's convicted of murder and arson.
My only thing is I want my child home, and it's messed up how everything happened.
Let's bring in Julie Grant because we have a lot we need to discuss about this case. And this is a case, again, we're tracking here on Court TV and waiting for that trial to come up. But Julie, let's start the relationship between Crystal Kaiser and the man that she shot and killed. Do we have any idea how it started, what the nature of it was?
Well, I don't know how it began, but what I do know is that the prosecutor on this case is making it very clear that Crystal Kaiser was definitely a victim of felony sexual assault at the hands of Randy Volar, who is the deceased and the said victim in this homicide case. So they're being very, very clear about that. But what's in dispute is how the death occurred. If you ask the defense, they're saying this was a self-defense incident. They're looking to put on an affirmative defense, Vinny. And then the prosecution is saying, no, this was a premeditated killing. And the one thing they are saying about Randy Volar is that he was a quote unquote customer. The prosecutor said the way he's been trained to understand the way sex trafficking cases work, there are those who are the victims, in this case would be Crystal Kaiser, those who are the customers, which case in this instance, Randy Volar, and those who are the traffickers who engage in that as a business. So he made a real point today in front of the court during the bond reduction hearing to say that Randy Volar was not engaged in the business of trafficking, but wanted to clarify that he was a customer with Crystal Kaiser.
All right, let's take a listen to more of the arguments today from that bond hearing. And again, this is a case where you've got someone who's presumed innocent but is locked up trying to get that number reduced to get out pending her trial. But it seems like prosecutors and the victim's family are a little concerned. Let's take a listen.
Ms. Kaiser is indigent. She's a poor teenager. She has no ability to post any amount of cash. She will reside with her mother in Milwaukee, and any amount of cash that the court requires as bond presents a significant financial strain on the family. It's a huge incentive for her to make each and every one of her court appearances. If released, there are a number of things that Ms. Kaiser will do.
There's nothing worse than a parent's nightmare of burying their son due to an unlawful murder. Randy was a gentle person, loved for his intelligence and easygoing manner. He loved his family more than anything. On June 5th, 2018, Crystal Kaiser pulled a gun on my defenseless son, shooting him twice in the head, and proceeded to start his body on fire, not knowing if he was alive, still alive, forever changing the lives of his friends and family. As Randy is not here to defend himself, we may never know the real truth, as the defendant has changed her story several times. However, the facts in black and white confirm that her actions were premeditated. She took his life over a vehicle. We are discouraged by the lies that social media, local media, and national news have printed regarding my son, which has no basis on the truth. Due to these lies, members of the family fear for their safety. Based on the defendant's actions before and after the murder, including her bragging about shooting my son on social media and stating that she would kill again, the family requests the court does not allow Ms. Kaiser to be released from jail for any reason, or there should be any reduction in bond. In closing, the family believes that all lives matter. No one should be allowed to unlawfully take matters in their own hands and commit murder nice.
Julie, this is a case that has obvious issues on both sides here, and one that you might look at and say, okay, sounds like this could end up with some sort of a plea deal. Is that even being considered here, talked about?
It sure is. And it's funny you mentioned that, Vinny, because today during this bond modification hearing, and by the way, it was not modified by the court. The judge continued it at $400,000 straight. But one thing that was brought up was that apparently on March 26th, Crystal Kaiser wrote a letter to the judge, essentially saying that she wants to take the plea offer that prosecutors have given her, but her lawyers have shut it down. And because that communication was sent to the judge, we know that ex parte communications aren't allowed. It's not like one side can have a communication with the court. It has to be shared with the other side. So it was brought out today. Her defense team did not respond to that. But the prosecutor put on the record again what that plea offer is. And apparently it's an offer for her to plead to felony murder and to felony bail jumping. They said that she was out on bail for an incident that occurred in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the time that she picked up this instant case. So certainly there's heartbreak on so many levels, heartbreak on both sides of this case, Vinny, and it certainly wouldn't surprise me if it is resolved with a plea. Everybody's just waiting to see what happens with the interlocutory appeal that's going on right now.
Okay, so you've got an appeal on an issue taking place right now. Any
Correct.
idea? I know it's almost impossible at this point to figure out a schedule for anything that's happening in any courtroom, but was anyone putting it out there on when the trial would happen if there is no deal?
Right. So the next court date will be in September, and that's going to be a status conference date because both sides are hoping to have a decision from the appeals court. And just to kind of take a step back, with an interlocutory appeal just means that one ruling by the court is being appealed right now while the whole entire case is still pending. And so the issue the defense is raising is whether or not they can use that affirmative defense with Crystal Kaiser being a victim of human trafficking and suffering, felony sex assault at the hands of the man that she allegedly killed. So prosecution has objected to that coming in, that affirmative defense being used. The judge sided with the prosecution because of the evidence the prosecution has that this was a premeditated killing. So the defense is appealing the judge's ruling, still trying to get that evidence in. And Vinny, today the prosecutor did talk a little bit about the evidence they have to show premeditation here.
All right. This is a case, obviously, we're going to continue to track and follow. And in September, we should have a much better idea of what's going to happen next. But Julie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Vinny.